The Get Better podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants. Please remember to gamble responsibly.
Is this, and love a good conspiracy theory as we talked about it, is there a conspiracy theory around here where Brooks and Bryce have said, let's get a piece of that pie, right? And let's create a little something, drive some engagement, and be the two guys that drive that social media engagement and collect that easy money. Welcome to Get Better Sports for June 16th. It is Majors Week, the US Open, Torrey Pines. Let's chat a little bit golf. Everybody loves a good Majors Week. There's always a good vibe around Majors Week. I love it. So much fun. Love to follow all the action. I'm here as usual with Troy Gubb. Gub, how you feeling on this Majors Week? Wednesday,
good, man. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Big day tomorrow. Golf betting. I think this was a stat you were saying that 5 times more betting happens on majors than regular weeks. And to be clear, I never ever bet any other weeks beside the majors. So I'm excited. Get to gamble on golf. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's true. There's a stat that I read. So 5 times the amount of action that the books see on a majors week. So right away, there's a couple of things obviously to note with that. In particular, is the fact that obviously they're watching those lines pretty closely. A lot of liability here for the books. So you're gonna be paying attention as to who is picking what and where they're going. And you're probably getting a lot of people such as yourself and myself who probably aren't betting on golf week in and week out. I will say I do follow the sport throughout the full season, but I really probably don't get in on the betting action unless it's a tournament of significant notoriety or a major. So you get a lot of the average folks that come in that might know some about golf, maybe not full experts and know a lot, but come in and like to place the odd wager. So today, let's look a little bit at the golf course. Let's chat a little golf too, because I think there's some fun nuances with this tournament and things that a lot of people are watching out for and could be fun. So a couple of cool different perspectives that we'll look at here.
So the cool part about the golf is, this really is more, you definitely have the advantage in golf knowledge here. So I'd always like to defer to you when to give me advice on golf picks. But before we even do that, so Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this course, Luke. What do I have to be watching out for? And then we'll get into the players that kind of lean pretty positively for a course like this.
Yeah, and full disclaimer here, I don't consider myself to be a golf expert.
Just between the two of us.
I don't consider myself to be a golf expert. I have not been to Torrey Pines. But that said, there's a fabulous thing.
Have you been? How close have you been to Torrey Pines? Let's just be clear here. You've been to every great golf course in the world. So
I have not been to every great golf course in the world. I've not been close to, it's in San Diego. I've never been to San Diego. But there's first tip as to some of the golfers you may be looking at and considering this week. Some San Diego natives there that would be important to look at. But in terms of Torrey Pines, again, I like I said, I've not been to the golf course, but obviously lots of great information and knowledge in the World Wide Web. And as we talk about doing our research, it's important to look at that. So Torrey Pines, first time it's hosted the US Open since 2008, that iconic win from Tiger Woods. We basically did it on one leg against Rocco Mediate in that playoff. Unbelievable tournament, unbelievable feat in terms of what Tiger did. So many great moments and highlight clips coming out of that. Love that tournament. Love that win for him. Interesting to note, Tiger Woods also won the Farmers Insurance that same year, which also happened to be at Torrey Pines. And Torrey Pines hosts the Farmers Insurance Open as a regular tour stop. So the guys have some level of familiarity with it. Now, there is a North and a South course, and for the Farmers Insurance, they play both. For the US Open this week, it is going to be dedicated to the South course. Couple key things, I guess, about the US Open in general is a difficult setup. They usually set the course up to be extremely challenging. They grow the rough out really, really thick. If we want to go full golf nerd here, the rough is like a combination of different types of grass. Kukaya, I think, is maybe what they call it, which is kind of just fun to say, is one of the types of grass that they use in the rough, and it's really thick. And so ultimately at the end of the day, it becomes a difficult test. But there are a couple things to note about the South course from what I've read. Okay. Fairways are very narrow. It's a very long course. I think it's playing to 70. I want to say it was 7,700 yards. I don't have that. If we had a stat guy, we can do a fact check on that, but we don't. That position's still available for anybody interested. But it's playing at a par 71. So it's going to play long for these guys, right? And it's narrow fairways. Rough is extremely thick. So there's a couple of things that you obviously want to look at. From what I understand, the greens are really tricky here too. So there's a few key stats that are going to jump out at you when you start thinking about the golf course, but it's going to be a difficult one. It's going to play long this week. It's going to be a challenge. A lot of what the players have said, just listening to some of the press conferences, it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be fair. Probably going to favor some of the long hitters as well.
Before we get into the picks,
yeah,
just let's take care of some important housekeeping here. Brooks and Bryson not pairing them together.
Mm-hmm.
Mistake or smart? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, it's a good debate, and I love this. And it'd be great to when we post this podcast, to hear from some listeners too, just through social, to get in on this debate. It's an interesting play by the USGA to not pair them, because on the one hand, would it drive ratings and interest? Probably, absolutely. Even for the casual golf fan who's kind of followed along and understood what was happening here. But I think there could potentially be some nuances here as to why they didn't pair them together. One, I think the crowd could become overwhelming for the two of them. I think the comments and call outs of Brooksy when Bryson hits a shot might be unfair to Bryson in this particular setting. If he's paired with him, could get a little bit interesting. The other piece that came to mind here was the fact that these two guys are highly likely to be playing together in the Ryder Cup with each other as teammates. And so does the USGA really want to play into this feud and build this to a bigger ordeal, knowing that they're going to need these two guys sort of in the Ryder Cup representing Team America and not impacting the chemistry in the room and keeping it relatively easy for Stricker, who's the captain. So I wonder how this played out, how the decision was made. Give me your take. What do you think about this?
First of all, this is awesome for golf. Having this rivalry is incredible for golf. You need stars, you need drama, and nothing brings in the casual fan like a nice rivalry. If I'm looking at this, by the way, who do you think is the bad guy in that relationship? Who do you put as the heel here?
I think of how the way things went down, they almost kind of position Brooks a little bit as the bad guy because of the rolling the eyes and I can't stand that kind of thing. But quite honestly, I don't think Brooks anticipated that to be leaked. Like the press kind of leaked that video. It came out. And so he may have got painted a bit as the bad guy here. But I don't know how much. I don't know what other players feel about Bryson with what he's doing, the way he's changing the game, the routine on the range where you see him doing these speed tests. He's just mashing golf balls one after another as quick as he can. Everyone's kind of looking and saying, what is this guy doing? He's gotten really big, pretty quick, big in size. I mean, like bulked up. Some question marks maybe there. The slow play is an issue for him. I think it's maybe one of the issues that
you sound like you are pro Brooks in this relationship, without a doubt.
I'm indifferent in the relationship. I think both guys might have kind of similar games. They both hit the ball deep, but I don't know who the bad guy is. Right now it kind of looks like Brooks.
So I think that generally people were against Bryson, and to be honest, I was a little bit pro Brooks. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, the little jab he gave when on TV and then the eye roll. You don't do an eye roll like that just for like a one-off time. Like that had to be constant little pricks that he's been doing to Brooks. It's kind of like the annoying little brother factor, that kind of roll the eyes like, oh my gosh. I'm team Bryson right now for this thing. And again, if I'm thinking Ryder Cup, just to use a couple wrestling analogies here, you don't give the fans what they want right away. So, not pairing them up this weekend, completely by design, let this build. It's just begun. So when it does happen, let's hope it's at a great moment, like a final on a Sunday, or a big event down the road. But to the Ryder Cup point, absolutely, I want these two working together. Two guys that hate each other working together.
It's terrible for the room.
It's great. Think of every great rock band. They always hate each other, you know? Axl Rose and Slash, get them back together, right? People want to see that. They weren't the same without each other. Oasis, right? Two brothers can't stand each other. People love their music. Who doesn't love Wonderwall? Like, absolutely put these two together, because we want to see a friction. You know, we want to see Noel hit his brother with a chair. We want to see something go down where an argument happens between teammates.
Maybe in the music industry, but you always hear those comments about in sports about a disruptive player in the room, you know, and how they impact that. I think in a team setting, you need everybody moving the same direction. If you got two guys feuding, it's tough to do that. Let me spin one more thing at you here, because we had a conversation with a longtime listener. I'm going to call him a longtime listener. Craig Scott. So Craig Scott, longtime listener. This was an interesting angle that he threw at us that quite honestly hadn't crossed my mind until he brought it up. Yeah. But so the PGA Tour created $40 million bonus pool. It's called a social media bonus pool that's designed to reward players who drive fan and sponsor engagement. So at the end of the year, a pool of $40 million would be basically distributed among 10 players. So it's called.
Yeah.
Is this, and I love a good conspiracy theory as we talked about it, is there a conspiracy theory around here where Brooks and Bryson said, let's get a piece of that pie, right? And let's create a little something, drive some engagement, and be the two guys that drive that social media engagement and collect that easy money. Do we think there's something to this?
So I didn't know about this social media bonus. What a great idea, by the way. Every sport should do this. Like, this is what is just a great way to create a little bit more content, a little bit more controversy. When I learned about this, absolutely, this is rigged now. Right. I'm all in on this conspiracy. Now, it may have just started as a little joke, then that's why he made the comment. But then it became in play on this, play into this. We got to play into this. Well, let's go get that social bonus. Let's split it down the middle. But they have to be leading the way now.
You would assume.
I wish
even
just
with like
see the results
videos,
on this,
right?
like how it's being tracked throughout the year.
Well, because even when you see some of the videos that came out after this, where it was like Brooks did that whole video. He wasn't playing in the tournament. Bryson, and I don't even remember which tournament it was. Bryson was playing in the tournament. And he was getting, every time he hit the ball fall, I was like, hey, go Brooksy. Hey, Brooksy. Doesn't Brooks do a video of himself thanking his loyal fans who's out there in the thing? Like, it's a plausible theory. Yeah. Like, it's an interesting thing to think about, that there could be something.
It'll all come out one day.
You never know. So fun. I think we could debate all day around Bryson and Brooks, and it's a fun conversation to have. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Is it good or bad for golf? That's the other big debate. I think at the end of the day, if you can build rivalry and healthy competition around the game, it's absolutely crucial to drive fan engagement. In my opinion, you need that rivalry. And it's something that right now, I don't know that golf has. Closest thing we got to at one point in time was Spieth and Patrick Reed. Again, was a Ryder Cup situation. And they came out and they paired them together. And I want to say it was at the PGA Championship. And basically in that very first tee, Jordan Spieth walked out and gave Patrick Reed a hug, like basically just squashed everything right away, because he walked out,
killed the drama,
gave him a big hug, like just like killed the drama. It's like, yeah, we're not feuding, like things happen and whatnot, but we're not actually feuding. But those rivalries and that drama, every sport needs that. So I as long as it's legit, it's not petty and over ridiculous things, but there's that drama and rivalry that can be built there. All for that. The game needs it. It needs it for sure. Yeah.
So let's get into kind of, again, you gave a little background on the course. Let's get into some picks here. Who does this course lend to here? Who are we looking at? Who are you targeting based on the course conditions, the way it's set up?
Yeah, so I think naturally it's going to play well to the longer hitters. And I think there's a couple stats that you would kind of hone in on in particular for the US Open, usually in general, and pretty much for any major in most golf tournaments, but for any major, the strokes gain stats are always something that you're going to hone in on and focus on. But I think there's a couple here that are really important. And throughout some of the reading that I did this week, some of the more crucial stats that you need to look at, number one would be sort of driving distance and accuracy. We talked a lot about how thick the rough is going to be. The course is going to play extra long because of that. So those bombers are going to have a bit of an advantage. Now, if those bombers can be accurate and hit anywhere from 65% of the fairways, they're going to give themselves a chance on Sunday to be there, providing the rest of their game is still in a good spot. Because I think there's other stats that you do got to focus on, which I'll touch on in a second. But I think if you can bomb it and you're going to miss, you want to be closer to the green than being further away. And the only reason being is you'd rather have a wedge or an 8 or a 9 iron in your hand trying to hack it out of the thick rough than have some sort of a longer mid iron. It's just going to be easier to do to try to advance it and get it up and closer to the green. So it's going to play to an advantage of those longer hitters, in my opinion. I also think some of the other stats that you should really focus on is sort of that strokes gained around the green. Rough is going to be super thick. It's going to target those guys who've got a great short game, that have sort of that imaginative short game, configuring those guys like Phil, who we know is great with the wedge in his hand. The other guy that I'm really focusing on in particular, and it shouldn't come as a big surprise, he won at the Farmers Insurance Open earlier this year. It's Patrick Reed. The reason why I'm looking at him is he's got a phenomenal short game, and he's a great scrambler. And this is a scrambler's golf course. You're just with the way that the fairways are set up and they're narrow, you're going to be in the rough. You're going to have to scramble a little bit here. And the rough is so thick, it's going to force you to do that. Patrick Reed's got a great short game, great around the greens. He's somebody that I actually really like here. And I'm talking about a couple guys that are kind of not necessarily flying under the radar, but they're not sort of that 1-2 that everybody's talking about right now. And who I'm referencing there is John Rahm and Xander Schauffele.
Yep.
But I do like Patrick Reed for some of those stats that I touched on.
And what he has, just looking at the stats here.
At?
So if we were to say bet $10, let's say, on Patrick Reed to win, winning this tournament, $10 will pay me $260. Just coming in the top 5 pays me $72.50. So significant value. One of my favorite things, to be honest, about betting on the Masters is you want to have a few dogs in the race. You want to have more bullets in the chamber. There's if you were to bet, let's say we just removed John Rahm from the equation for a second here, and you bet that the top 12 players based on the odds, you're still going to get a payout. You'll still walk away, and if you wanted to add Rahm to that, then you could take 8 players and still make some money on this. So that's the most fun I like to have with this is not only do I like to pick a variety of folks, but make adjustments halfway through. So, on Friday, take a look and place another wager. It's an event I find I'm placing my wagers on throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
And sometimes just to offset, hey, I'm looking really bad here. Just grab the winner now and take some money back.
That's part of that bankroll management we talk about, is saving some of those dollars to be able to roll into some either live bets or some round 3 and 4 bets as you get closer to, and you get a better sense as to who's looking really strong and playing really well. So I like that strategy a lot too. And I think the other piece that I look at too a lot with golf, because it's hard, it's really, really hard to pick the outright winner, because so much can happen. And I think when you look at how talented these guys are, really anybody really in the top 50 can strike lightning in a bottle and get it done. Like they're just so much talent there. And these guys typically try to build up towards a major. They try to intentionally build momentum and form coming into a major. It is I think the number one sort of not a stat, but number one piece of information and intel that the books lean into when they're setting these lines. It's current form, which is an interesting one. And that's where you can sometimes find some value. Like a Patrick Reed, you can get a lot of value there. And current form is certainly extremely important when it comes to majors. But like with Phil Mickelson, did he have the best form going into the PGA Championship? Was he a favorite?
Yeah.
By no means. Was he flying under the radar in most cases? Yeah. I'd be curious to see how many people actually took some money on Phil. I had a few conversations with friends and such that said, on I think it was on Friday, they're saying 0 chance Phil wins this tournament. He's not going to be there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was right there too. I said, no, I don't think Phil's there. I had no chance he's going to be there. But that's where it gets difficult. So that's where it's really important to kind of watch those lines too, see where the public money is going, and kind of make some guesses there. I wanted to touch on a couple other guys that I kind of like, just when I look at the stats alone, looking at the stats, maybe not so much looking at recent form and whatnot, but the stats coming into this. Paul Casey is a guy that is a really decent driver of the golf ball, and his long iron play is great. So he's a guy that can likely, afford to lose a couple yards off the tee. And the golf course is going to play long, but he's got a great long iron play, and he can get himself close enough to have some looks and score where he can. So I actually don't mind him
on approach to the green.
Exactly. And I don't mind great striker of the golf ball. Like I don't mind him as someone to be there. Does he win the golf tournament? I don't know. I'm not sure how well his current form is, and I didn't get a chance to take a deep look as to what he's done as of late. But is he a good top 10 pick? Potentially. A Webb Simpson is another guy I really like, 3rd in total strokes gained in majors dating back to 2017. Strokes gained, again, an important stat to look at. So there's a few guys here that I might not pick on the outright, but maybe you pick them on some of those each way bets where it's like, yeah, you're taking him to win, or you're taking him to place in the top 5, or you just take him to place top 10, top 20 outright. Find some value.
So I got a name for you. So, going back to what we did on the Masters, again, you're the one that taught me about this whole approach to the green. And that's kind of where I stumbled upon Willie Z, my boy. Love that guy, right?
Yeah.
Made top 5. It was great. So I'm looking again on that page. And again, I never like grabbing that favorite, grabbing some odds a bit here. And there's a name that's jumping out at me, and I don't know who he is. So I need a little advice here, because I'm going to place a wager on him no matter what you say.
Oh,
tell me about
what difference does
Charlie Hoffman.
Charlie Hoffman.
Hoffman. I'm being drawn to his name. He's got he's ranked 6th on approach to the green. Mm-hmm. The kid's put in 85 rounds. I think he's a little bit of an older kid, to be honest.
Yeah, not a young buck.
I believe he's 44. Means. I'm looking at his image here. 85 rounds. This guy's just out there banging the ball every week.
Yeah. Plays a lot of golf. Charlie's a great player, and he's been a good player for a long time. I don't believe. 5. Yeah, I don't believe
he's coming top 5.
What do you mean coming top 5?
He's coming top 5 this week, Luke.
Oh, he's coming in the top 5 this week. Yeah. So you've already made your decision. So what difference does it make when I say about Charlie Hoffman? Again, he's one of those guys that maybe could get hot. Do I think he wins the US Open? Probably not. He had, and I don't remember, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, probably pre me having 3 kids, where I had the chance to watch a lot more golf. But he went through a stint there where he always seemed to be right there in the mix, and he had some really good tournaments at the Masters. He was right there. And I recall him always having a tough time closing it out. I think that if my memory serves me correctly, he was always kind of right there in the mix, played really well, just struggled down the stretch in terms of the 3rd and 4th round. So again, he's not somebody that I'll be putting any money on any of my betting cards by any means. But
well, just so you know, if Mr. Hoffman
what is the payout
through? $25 is going to pay me $15.75. Not bad. I'll take the top 5, which will pay me $4.12. So that's where I'm looking.
That should be a strong indicator to what they're thinking about Charlie in terms of winning this tournament. So
got me thinking about the pinata pick, man.
Yeah. I know.
I feel like I'm doing this on every podcast now.
I know.
Just
You
taking
and your
L's left and
Pinata
right.
picks. Yeah. It's again for me with the golf, it's tough. It's tough. The Pinata pick is tough because there's so many guys that could get it done. So yeah, I mean, for me, I would build a card around a couple things. I throw a couple props in there, a couple things that I would look at, a couple top tens, top fives, things like that. Some other top tens I look at, like Will Zalatoris. You talked about him, Willie Z.
He's already on my card. Love
He's
this
like
kid.
a top 10 machine. It seems like every major he's in the top 10. He's playing really, really well. Tony Finau, very similar. Jason Kokrak is another guy that I actually might look at as a top 10 finish.
Kokrak?
Kokrak. Yeah, Jason Kokrak. So he won recently.
Like
he beat out Jordan Spieth. I can't remember the tournament now. I'm drawing a blank on that one, but he beat out Jordan Spieth recently. And so has a bit of form coming in. Big guy, can bomb it. He's what you call country strong. He's a real country boy, can hit the ball deep. So he might be in the mix for a top 10 there. You might look at, and there's probably some decent value there for him too. So there's a couple that you might look at. But
okay,
in terms of outright winner,
okay, who do you got?
It's hard. And the public is there. Everybody seems to be there. It's hard to not look at Jon Rahm here in this one. And the struggle, and unfortunate, obviously the tournament where he's leading by 6 on Saturday and he's told, you've got COVID. Unfortunately, you're out. He's healthy now. He seems to be in good form. He's playing well. He's a San Diego guy, loves the area, probably knows his golf course really well. Things kind of leaning really well towards Jon Rahm. I also really like Xander Schauffele. Just waiting for Xander to win a major. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. It has to happen. And he's a San Diego guy, so comfortable with the area. Those two, I really,
the weather. He's used to the weather.
those two, I really like here for sure. On some sort of outright picks, not getting a lot of value.
Well, I will. I'll give you mine. I'm going Willie Z. I'm going Charlie Hoffman. My boy for long shots here.
Yeah, he might be.
I
just looked at his stats.
And I'm going to do a Pinata pick right now.
Oh God, here we go.
Pinata pick. So Pinata pick this week's are paying. I love these. They're paying out $25, pays you $3,150. The worst part is when you get a bad guy, it was better to take them just to actually place in the top 5.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
The first, Thomas Dietrich.
Thomas Dietrich.
I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is either, but I mean,
it's never a good sign.
Quick look here. So it looks like Thomas Dietrich is a Belgian player, plays on the European Tour. I don't know a lot about Thomas, to be honest with you. So I couldn't tell you if it's a good pick or not. It looks like he played in the PGA Championship. He didn't make the cut. He was 76, 75.
Great.
So didn't make the cut, but
stretch, buddy. I hope he's sleeping right now.
Yeah.
Getting some good rest. Okay, I need another one. I need another guy.
Come with the right frame of mind.
I'm doing another one. Last one.
Okay. Let's see who you got.
Who is Jimmy Walker?
Jimmy Walker. Wow. So Jimmy Walker, he's a great player. And
okay, I'll take a great player.
Yeah, great player. Again, one of those players is he going to win the US Open this week? Probably not. But has had his fair share of wins on the tour and has played really well. He was a really notable player a few years ago. I don't know how long ago. Again, probably when I watched.
I feel like I've got a team of dinosaurs on my team right now.
Pre-kids.
And then Willie.
No, I think Thomas Dietrich's a younger kid from what I can see. He looks like a younger guy.
Nice.
But Jimmy Walker, a little bit older. I don't know why, but the one thing that sticks out about me with Jimmy Walker is I know he struggles. He has Lyme disease, I believe. So I don't know. Not that matters what he's playing. He still plays golf and he's fine. But
he's okay.
I remember when that news came out that he has Lyme disease, and there's probably zero correlation, but the game started to go a little bit. Maybe he wasn't playing as much, things like that. But at a time, Jimmy Walker was consistently on top of leaderboards. I'm playing really good
Okay.
golf.
Well,
I don't
I'm
know
hoping
that
for a
it'll be
comeback
there.
this week.
Yeah, you never
See.
you never know.
We'll see.
Who knows? Those are tough pinata picks. That you may have just provided $50 to the books. But we'll see.
I'm worried too. I've been
Yeah.
losing a lot lately.
Yeah.
Even round one of our little golf adventure.
That's right. That's right. We
Oh,
did get
man.
out.
There's
for
some great
round-
content coming out for this.
for round one. Yeah. And there's going to be some content for you to check out. And I think the one thing I want to comment on with regards to the round, you started incredibly
So
well.
hot.
And I won't lie.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it because we ended up playing out by you. And just for context for people that are listening,
Yeah.
you live an hour and
Yeah.
30 or so away from me.
Hour and
So-
30.
Yeah, it's a good haul, man. I'm on the other end of the city.
Oakville to Pickering.
Yeah,
That's like 55 minutes on Google Maps, man.
No
How do you
chance of-
drive?
No chance of 55. I can tell you I did a buck 40
on the right
was,
line, right
it
lane
was-
the whole way.
It was 6 a.m. in the morning. You booked the tea time for 7. So you can imagine I'm laying in my bed that night and I'm thinking to myself, am I getting hustled here right now? He's booked a course around the corner from him. He's played many times.
Yeah.
None of that. He books it at 7:00 in the morning. Now I know we're not playing head to head, but I have to get up at 5:30 just to get to this golf course for our team time, drive across the city. I'm up at the crack of dawn and I'm thinking to myself, laying in bed, I'm like, he's going to get this done in round one. And I'm not kidding you. The first 6 holes, I was like, I'm in trouble here. I'm in big time trouble. So this is when I started thinking like, I got to get in his head. I got to figure out what I got to
That's
do
what did it.
here. And that's when I started playing the card. Like, yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, home course. How many times you played here? You played here a bunch.
Yeah.
Got me up
Got me.
early in the morning. You know, I'm getting hustled here over the Jacob steak dinner. So
Felt bad.
yeah,
You felt I honestly, to be honest too, like the first 2 holes weren't great holes. I lost 2 balls, but I was able to save bogey on both of them.
yeah.
So I was really happy. I was 5 over after 6 holes. I'm like, this is gold.
Yeah.
And a part of me started to feel bad. I was like, man, that sucks. Like he did come all the way out here and I'm going to take it on the first day. And that kind of ruins the content for the podcast. And all these thoughts came to my head. And then it was 9 on the, it was next hole 9. It was 5 over. And then we had a 7 and a 7. One of them was a par 3. So immediately added 12. I was 12 over on those 3 holes alone.
Yeah,
So,
you finished the back 9, 7, 7. And I was like, and I
12,
remember
17
thinking to
over.
myself, yeah, there it is.
It's over. It was
we're
it. I
alive.
blew up.
The bet is alive.
Ugh.
So but here's what I will say. I'm in a very weird position about this, to be honest with you, because on the one hand, as a competitor, you don't want to lose the bet, right? You don't want to lose the bet. But realistically, when I think about this, I was watching the collapse throughout the round. You know, the last 3 holes in the front 9 was really tough, and then we got to the back 9, started back 9, and we did the math to figure out what you needed to break 100, and it was really, really tough. And let's be honest, I did not. I was right there with you. I was horrendous.
Finished with 99.
I
just to taunt me.
I shot 99.
Yeah.
99, which is
die for 99.
a horrendous round of golf, number one. But how ironic is it that I break 100 by 1?
I know.
By 1. That goes to tell you how bad that was. A brutal round of golf that we played, to be entirely honest. But the tough part for me is because as I was watching the collapse and watching you go through it, I too started to feel bad. I'm like, man, you know what? I want this guy to break 100. I do. At the end of the day, I'm like, you've worked really hard at it. You want it so bad. Golf is incredibly tough. It's an incredibly difficult sport. And it is a sport that costs a lot of money and a lot of time. Hence the reason why usually most people that play it and are involved in it are extremely privileged. But it is incredibly tough. It's an incredibly tough sport So how much would I love to see my good buddy Troy Gubb break 100? It's a weird
your friggin' game. You're already
juxtaposition that
doing
I
it already,
face with.
man.
No, it's a
Now you're playing
I'm
the
not,
charity
I'm
case.
not,
I know
I'm
your
not.
charity case. On hole 2, you're like, I was this far away. Like, finish it right away. Right away. You were like, nope.
I just needed to
gotta
set
finish that out. Gotta play it out.
I just needed to set expectations that I need to see everything, right? That's but you know, you have to admit, as the round went on, I lightened up. I started giving you gimmies that were putter length.
Once I was 5 over on the par 5, like it took me forever to get to the damn green.
I had to
ridiculous.
I had to ensure the bet wasn't in jeopardy.
But we'll be back.
I'm not saying that. I truthfully would like to see you break 100. So what I hope happens here is, you know, the 5 rounds we play, you don't break 100. We play a 6th round and you shatter 100 and we can celebrate together and we'll go and have that steak dinner. Okay. That's what I hope happens.
Right.
You're still going to have to pay for the steak dinner, but we'll have it together regardless and we can celebrate about it.
All right. Block them out.
All right.
We'll get them. All right, that's golf. That was a long one there for sure.
Yeah, US Open, a fun one. It's going to be a fun weekend. Like I said, who doesn't love Majors Week? Always fun to watch, always fun to follow along. We'll be placing a few wagers.
Let's do it.
And we'll be getting out for our second round soon. But keep an eye out for the content from round 1. Some great funny clips coming out.
Jimmy Walker, go get him.
All right, thanks everyone for listening. We'll chat again soon.